remind all my students that we are 3D creatures with 3D mapping brains. Like everything we relate to in the world has 3 dimensions. And so the way our minds work, when we close our eyes and hear sound, our brain attempts to map it in a 3D environment. In the real world, something's always happening closer to you and something's further away. And just like physical 3D objects, none of them can occupy the same space at one time. So I always show people like, hey, look, here I am. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see what I'm doing with my hands. If you're on audio only, just picture it with me. Close your eyes and imagine. My face is front and center in the middle of this. There's nothing in front of my face except my hands if I wave them. So my face is clearly the focal point of what you're looking at. But if it was just my head floating in the vacuum of nothingness, that might look a little strange. It doesn't paint a complete picture. That's why everything behind me is going on, and some of it, you know, is a little closer, but it's creating this background behind me. So when you're making your mix, think of it the same way. Your subs and your kick are providing like a floor to the room. Your, you know, main thing is right front and center. Your snare and your loudest lead elements are right there front and center. You know, you've got that sparkle zone up top creating a ceiling. You've got width plugins using Haas effect or using stereo imagers or auto pans that are creating interplay between the two sides that create the outer walls. And then, like we were talking a lot about last episode, having that quiet background stuff, the quietest, littlest sounds, the little reverbs, the subtle ambiance you put tucked way deep, way many decibels quieter than anything else, that create this back wall that give context. Like, you don't know how close my face is unless it's in context to the back wall of this room behind me that's providing the texture and context for what's going on in front.
Totally.
Yeah. I love that. I love the 3D cube representation. I remember the first time there's some like hilarious 80s themed like mixing video of some dude in like khakis and a button down tucked into his khakis talking about mixing, and he brings up this like mid 80s PowerPoint. I don't know, was PowerPoint around the mid 80s? I don't know, it doesn't matter. There's this graphic that's like a cube, and he's like showing like different like genres and like where the elements land in this cube. And like hip hop, the sub bass was like the whole bottom thing, and then like pop, it was like almost the whole cube was the vocal, and then like other stuff was kind of sprinkled around it. But like that was such an aha moment to me. Like, you have a cube's worth of space, and if you want a full sounding mix, fill the fucking cube. It's that simple. So then I literally just started writing down when I went to mix something. I'd literally just make a cube and then like start putting arrows to like what's where. And like when I would go to mix something, I'd be like, nope, something's already there. I'm going to put it here. And no, I can't put it there anymore. So this thing's already there. Let me put it here. And you realize you can hard pan things left and right. You can pan things 25 left and 25 right. And you're just like thinking about, where do I slot these things in this cube so that no two things operate in the same space? And by the end, voila, you have a full cube and a full sounding mix. The only thing that you don't need is sub and uber highs as you move to the back of the cube. So if you think of like, there's nine spots in the front face of a cube, or
it's like a trapezoidal prism that has
exactly.
the short end facing away.
Yes, exactly. So like as you move back from the front row, the bottom and the top no longer need to be filled, but everything else should be filled.
And when you draw a picture in perspective, if you're looking exactly at the front face of that cube you're talking about, the back side would be drawn smaller, and all of the corners would lead into it. I mean, like, just like, you know, if I straighten the camera here, it's like those ceiling lines are coming out from the front and like moving in towards the back. And that's just the same as what you want to do with those quieter sounds. You can roll off those lows and those highs, and rolling off lows and highs pushes something to the back of the mix anyways. So it's like either way you want to think about it, it has the same effect from either direction you approach it.
So I'd love to elaborate on this a bit more, because this is something I'm really keen about, and I haven't really seen people talking about this. If you're a student of mine, I already tell people like there's maybe 2 or 3 like umbrella concepts that really cover every single thing about my workflow. So when I'm making all of these individual moves, I'm just drawing from these 2 or 3 main concepts. Now, one of them is how our ear picks up on sound in the real world. And I boiled it down to 3 main things, which are basically, like you said there, Luke, amount of lows and highs. First off, yes, nice. Amount of highs and lows, first off, is like, if you think of ASMR, what gives people that intimate feeling of whispering into the mic? It's those crispy highs, baby. Nice. You get, right? It's those S's and those T's, and those sounds are very crisp and clear versus, if I'm a football field away and I'm yelling your name, it's still way more mids heavy than it is lows and highs. Also, if I get right up to the mic here, it's all bassy, right? Versus your
bassy voice sounds really New Jersey.
Hey. But if I do that, that feeling of when somebody's like right up to your ear and you get that bass. If I take even one step back, you're not going to get even close to that amount of bass, right? If you're a vocalist, so that amount of extreme lows and extreme highs, especially if you think about playing a song off your phone kind of quiet, no sub, no high end. I mean, phones can't do sub, but you know what I mean? Speakers really quiet versus at a moderate volume. Now you can finally hear the sub and the extreme highs versus at a festival, all extreme lows, all extreme highs. And that's the Fletcher-Munson curve, which we talked about before. But that's one of the 3, what I call proximity attributes, or whatever you want to call them. So amount of lows and highs, right? 2 is amount of reverb. The closer I am up to your ear speaking into it, the quicker the sound waves get into your ear versus them bouncing off the wall and then coming into your ear. So you can also sidechain reverb and do creative stuff like that. So when the dry signal plays, it sounds very upfront and then the reverb comes in. But just be aware, if you're trying to sync something back into the mix or you want to bring it forward, amount of reverb is directly correlated to that. And then lastly, I say this one is dynamic range kind of, and I'll try to elaborate here as best as I can, but this is how I picture it, right? If I'm right up to your ear, basically lips to ear hole, there is theoretically a sound I could make that is
lips to ear hole, bro. That needs to be something. That's so funny.
Next meme right there. When the producer homies are lips to ear hole, but
to God, lips to ear hole.
So let's say theoretically I'm that close, and there's a sound I could make that's just at the threshold. If I were to get 1 unit of sound or loudness or whatever, the smallest amount of sound, less than that, you don't hear this sound anymore. It's like just at that threshold of perceivability. And now I take 1 step back. I need to increase for every step back by 1 unit of sound approximately. And I know this isn't a linear correlation, but let's just say for every step back, that threshold of the quietest noise I can make goes up. But I could be standing right up to your ear. I could be standing a football field away. And theoretically, I could keep making a louder and louder and louder sound, right? So it's only the low end that's affected. The high end, you could keep getting louder, but the level of floor noise starts to come up, much like that cube, right? If you think of the front of the mix here and the cube's on its side, it starts to come in like that. where the extreme highs, like we talked about, as you step back a football field away, you sort of envision that like extreme highs and lows roll off, more reverb in this space, and there's less of this lower dynamic range accessible to you. So if you keep those three things in mind, that's exactly how our ear picks up on sounds in the 3D world. And you can start incorporating this into your arrangement, your sound design, and
definitely mixing.
Basically, yeah, basically everything other than mixing. But it's a very versatile technique. And it's one of those like bigger concepts I pull from, and you'll find a lot of these moves aren't complicated if you know, like, I want to move it to the right corner, back corner of my mix. Oh, I just need to apply these three attributes in these amounts. All right, cool. Now you could place it anywhere you want with the help of a little panning. And actually, while I'm on this topic, there's one last thing I want to say to wrap this up. Hopefully that gives you guys some insight. I also want to say, in my opinion, maybe you guys agree or disagree, I'd love to hear your thoughts, but the best mixes, masters, whatever, final finished songs have unbalanced mixes. So consciously find a way to make it unbalanced in some way. Just because one shit's right 25 doesn't mean another has to be left 25. It can be, and you know, having that balance and that imbalance is almost like a consonance and dissonance in its own way. So be conscious of that and utilize it.
Yeah, and also special bonus for everyone watching on Facebook or YouTube. Go subscribe to our YouTube channel for this special piece of bonus content.
Yeah.
Here's a cube that shows what we're talking about with the area that you don't need to fill. It's like little wedges at the back. Everything else, find a spot.
Oh, they're bass traps.
Exactly.
For anybody who knows about acoustic treatment, this thing behind my head, speaking to the YouTube people again, that is a bass trap. It is a big foam wedge that goes in the corner. They can be made out of other stuff too, but that deads a lot of sound in a room. And it's exactly, if you're listening on audio only and you know what a bass trap is, think about a big fat bass trap across the bottom and top corners of that back wall. And that's exactly what Rip Kinney just drew for us.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. It's a trap. Jesus, what's up, guys?
Hey.
We're talking about.
Man.
I like it.
What's up, humans? It's Luke, your friendly neighborhood trap Jesus. Thanks so much for watching the podcast, checking out our videos. We truly appreciate you. So, Rip Kinney, Tesco, and myself got you a gift. We made you a free sample pack. It's got basses, it's got FX, it's got crazy percussion and Foley sounds, and it's free. It's all yours. Just click the link in the description below. Also, make sure to hit that subscribe, hit that like button, and share this with your friends. We appreciate you. Peace out and peace among worlds.